Right, we're live. Woohoo! Welcome, Joyfluers. So today is day one of the gratitude challenge, and today's live I'm going to be focusing on why would we be focusing on gratitude? I've sort of been gradually prepping for this challenge over the last few weeks, just bits and pieces when I'm feeling inspired. And one thing became very clear very quickly is it's going to be challenging to speak on gratitude for a whole week. So seven of these lives. It's interesting because I was really curious why I hadn't done this challenge a lot earlier. Like I've done an edge challenge, I've done a self-love challenge. There's been others, has there? I'm not sure. But I was curious as to why this challenge wasn't so much earlier, because gratitude is the number one key to joy, without a doubt. And I'll go into that shortly. Anyway, as I was preparing this, it became kind of obvious why I wasn't doing it earlier, because it is, as I said, it's going to be challenging to sort of spread this out over 7 days, because the nice thing about gratitude is it's freaking easy. Like, it is so simple. So simple. And in that simplicity is the gold. Yeah. So why gratitude? Wow. Well, gratitude is a state. It's a mindset. It's a way of being. And when it comes to being joyful, when it comes to having emotional resilience, which I talk about being like a massive consequence of sort of embodying joy and being these things, being and doing these things. So in terms of getting through tough times when life is throwing horrible things at us, gratitude is the number one suggestion that I have to assist in getting us through those tough times. And now you'll notice also I put in the heading for today is why gratitude, and also why I got to make gratitude sexy. It was quite funny. I had a conversation with a friend late last week about this, and his perspective on gratitude these days is, yes, it's great and it's beneficial and all the rest of it. And he said the main reason why it took him so long to get into the idea, thanks for the heart, Jody, why it took him so long to get into this concept of gratitude is that he had a lot of stigma built up the idea of having a gratitude journal. So over the next few days, I'm going to talk about some other possible solutions around gratitude as opposed to having a journal. Okay, now I do have a journal. Okay, when I started gratitude practice, and that for me was around 2005 through to 2008. Around that time, yes, I was doing gratitude practice on a daily basis. These days, I just do it periodically when I feel like it. Okay, and that is because I don't just practice gratitude when I'm sitting down and reflecting in my journal. Yeah. So the nice thing is you don't have to just use a journal. Exercise books. This is one of my original attempts at my gratitude practice. So today's just about the why. We'll get into the how a little bit later in the week. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be unsexy. If you've got issues with the idea of doing journaling, it's okay. There is actually scientific research around what happens when we take thoughts and write them down and actually physically write them with a pen. Typing is beneficial too. However, there is greater evidence that supports the idea of using a pen and paper. So, but that being said, gratitude doesn't have to be an exercise. It can be something that we just are, that we just take in as our way of being. It can be the language that we use in our mind. It can be the way that we speak with people, but also what we embody, the emotions, the feelings, the state that we take on in our physical being. Okay, and if anything, that's probably more important than actually physically just going and writing it down, going, tick, okay, I've done my gratitude exercise for today. Okay, but have you actually taken that in? Has your neurology, has your nervous system actually taken on the state of being grateful? Okay. Also later in the week, we will chat about what are some potential blocks to gratitude. Okay, maybe it is you've just got this idea that journaling is really uncool. I know some people that do have that feeling, and that's totally okay. Also, like, it does sound pretty wanky. It can, potentially, from where you're coming from. Perhaps in the past that's something that I would have taken on board for myself. However, I'm definitely a gratitude convert. Yeah. Yeah, it's so when I very first learned about gratitude, it was at a time when I was really desperate for it. So this was the circumstances was I was living up in Sydney, and I was going through a lot of stress, to the point that it was sort of a mild level of depression, and not tiny, it was massive at the time, but I basically had a bit of a breakdown. And so as a result, I went and seeked out professional help. And one of the suggested exercises through that professional help was the concept of gratitude. And what actually happens when we sit down, take time, and actually focus on the things in our life that we are thankful for, that we have gratitude for actually having in our life, is it actually restructures our brain. Okay. Again, I'm going to spread this out a little and not go into too much detail. That'll be tricky. But effectively, it changes our brain. Okay. They've got brain scans that show what happens when we start moving into a state of gratitude. And by changing the thought patterns, instead of focusing on all the things, crappy things that were going on at the time, which was a whole range of things. I'd moved interstate, so a massive lifestyle change. I was heading up my first big project for the organisation that I worked for. I was working long hours. It was a high pressure job. It had high visibility. I'd never done anything like that before. And my whole lifestyle had changed. I was working long hours. I was living in the city. And of course, I wasn't as close to my network because we'd moved. I also had what we call imposter syndrome in that particular role. I didn't actually think that I was good enough, that I had the skill set to pull it off. So my thought patterns, I had no conscious awareness of what I was doing, but I was, going, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm tired. I can't sleep. I've been told that I'm probably not going to succeed in this project because it was a difficult project. That wasn't by someone in the company. That was by a competitor that was working alongside us, by the way. And it wasn't until I sort of, had the meltdown and sought out help, was able to start focusing on what I was grateful for. So, wow, grateful, got a job, great visible project. In actual fact, the project was going really well. It's just I wasn't seeking out feedback. So instead, I was making up stories in my head that I'm not good enough, can't pull this off. And all I needed to do was go have a chat with my manager and go, hey, I just want your perspective, how you think this is tracking. Okay, the moment I did that, I got positive feedback and it was all good. And the project was a success. So it was all in the head, all in the head. So, yeah, it was full on. So I was able to just focus on things that were going well. Wow, I'd moved interstate. That was massive. I was living in a really cool place in the city in Sydney, being put up by the company. Like there were a lot of perks at that time that I could focus on. So yeah, it was just a matter of choosing, well, what was I focusing on at that time? Okay. And by actually not just writing it down, as I said, actually going, wow, this is pretty cool. Okay. I was able to change the spiral, the out of control, spiraling downwards thoughts and start spiraling up and actually starting to function again because I hadn't been up until that point. So I got a real for me was a baptism of fire sort of introduction to gratitude. Hopefully for anyone listening here, you don't need to have a full-blown meltdown to be introduced to the concept of gratitude. So gratitude it's a freaking superpower, particularly in regards to joy. It's just, it's so simple yet so effective and powerful. And the funny thing is that, even if we are in the real depths of despair and hopelessness at any point in time, there's always something to be grateful for. Always. I'm going to leave that point there so I can save that to sort of expand on later in the week. Just making sure I've covered everything I wanted to. Yes. Okay. So that's it for today. Now, I call these challenges because they're challenges for me to have to get online and do a live every day. The challenge for you, should you choose to accept, is to jump on, have a listen. And then if you want to, no pressure. Morning, gorgeous. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for watching. Is to consider. Okay, you don't have to do anything. If you've just listened and gone this far, that's fabulous. However, what is some things that you are grateful for right now? Okay, take 5 minutes out of your day, or it might only take 30 seconds. Wow, quick exercise, right? What are some of the things that you're grateful for? If you want, commit a whole half hour and actually really go to town. If this is something that you have not ever sat down and reflected and considered, I'd look at giving yourself some good time and actually fleshing out, well, what is it that you're actually grateful for? Okay, it's very easy, very, very easy to focus on what's not working in our lives. Okay, and from a perspective of joy, well, that's the fast track to joylessness, as I like to call it. Okay. So if you are in a circumstance where things are full on right now and you're spiraling, this is a great way to just draw a line, okay, and start to turn that around for yourself. So yes, for anyone here who's listening to this live or on the recording, take 5 seconds right now. What's one thing that you're grateful for? I know depending on what's going on in our life, sometimes just simply going, wow, I'm grateful that I'm breathing right now. Okay, simple, but wow, I am very grateful when I come come down to actually think about that. The alternative is, well, interesting. So I'll leave you on that note, and you'll be seeing me every morning this week expanding on this incredible topic. As I said, gratitude, it's number one, absolutely by far number one key. Hi, Priya. This is cool. All right, thanks for jumping on, guys. And with heart and soul, have a fabulous day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.